Welcome to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. Are you evaluating your career in real estate? Feel like you're ready for a fresh start? Or ready to take your career to the next level? This is your podcast. Welcome back to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. Thank you for tuning in again. I am Meredith Fogel, along with my co-host, Alicia Soikawa. Hey, Alicia.
Hello.
All right. So Alicia's going to really guide us today because she's going to talk to us about the power of planning. And she just came from an event that was all about the power of planning, and not just the power of planning, but how to actually implement planning in your business and your life, mistakes to avoid when you're planning, and how to get the most out of your planning process. So Alicia, I'll let you kind of like give the overview and I'll just ask you questions as they pop up, but I'm learning from you too today.
Okay, this is great. So we actually did this great accountability call, and I kind of went over some hot points. I just got back from RPM with Tony Robbins, which was his brand new proprietary software. He's done RPM like his whole life on paper, and
What is RPM? Let's help people.
It's either it can kind of have different the acronym and is it acronym? I'm like, sorry. Acronym is Rapid Planning Method, or it's Results Purpose Map. It's a massive action plan. So either way you want to say it, but he does have like a software where you can use, and he's going to launch it to the world at some point. So it's kind of cool. But I currently have been using Google Calendar. I know a lot of people use Google Calendar kind of to keep me straight with my coaching clients and everything, because it comes with our Google Drive and all that. And it's been really helpful for me and integrates really well. And then I also use a paper planner in tandem with that for my weekly preview, kind of like reviewing the week and doing all those types of behaviors. And that's the Full Focus Michael Hyatt planner. So just for those of you that always ask me questions, like, what do you use? What tools do you use? Those are the two big things I love.
You've got a digital calendar and a paper planner side by side.
And I'm a big believer in highlighters because I think it focuses on like what you want inside coded things. So for me, pink is like personal. Purple is all my coaching. Green is any of my sales, money making, closing, prospecting, meetings. Green. Orange is anything to do with the business, like business.
Okay.
And then if I don't highlight it, or it's just like underlined or circled, it's just other unique like little things I have to do. So that's what I have always done in my planner. And then it correlates also, believe it or not, in my Google Calendar. So
of course it does.
Yes. Right. So humans are very like visually stimulated typically. So for me, it kind of makes me go, oh, do I have enough green? What's going on? And then pink is personal time. So in my calendar, I actually have it as red, because I want my calendar to be Christmas, personal, and make money making.
I love it. And you know what is interesting? One is obviously the colors for those of you who are more creative, but for anybody really, using a visual differentiator like that is very useful. One of the things that I often do with my coaching clients when they're starting and trying to get a handle on their own calendar and how they are allocating time is I'll have them go and do that, they'll take a week in their lives and then highlight, and we see what's out of whack. Right? Like if you got way too much orange, but not enough pink, you're too work heavy, right?
Yeah,
So
you're too work heavy.
Analyze that way. Yeah.
But
okay.
That's a caveat. There is seasons. There are seasons where personal is a lot, like if someone gets sick, or your kids have all these sports, or back to school is very heavy on kids and schools and programs and going to back to school that you wouldn't necessarily have maybe in a different time of year. Right. And so I think it's important to be open and flexible for changes. Like you have a plan, you create this plan, you create your goals, but to be human enough to know, like, okay, well, there goes the schedule. Like it happens.
Yes, you have to have when they're
there's just you have to make time work for you. And I think people don't understand, like, time is a man-made thing that was created. We all know that, right? So, and if there's 168 hours in a week and you take away how many hours a night to sleep and work and, all the eating and all the things, you really have plenty of time. So there's an illusion when someone's like, I don't have time on, that's like living in scarcity. And that was the biggest concept that I was like, I had to wrap my head around. I'd be like, oh my
I'm
God.
having trouble wrapping my head around it now. So wait a minute, dig into this for a minute.
So let's look at it this way. If there's 100, and I have my calculator here.
Okay.
So if there's 168 hours in a week,
Okay.
and let's say you sleep,
I sleep about 6.5 hours a night.
so if you sleep 6.5 hours a night times seven, you sleep 45.5 hours.
Now I feel like I have even less time.
Of the
So why not get
168
sleepy?
hour. Now, how much do you think you work? 8 hours, 10 hours a day?
Sure. Probably more like 11 or 12, but let's call it 10.
Let's just say 8 to 10 hours a day. And that's a
Okay.
lot, right? So let's say that's 70 hours a week work, right? 70 hours a week work. So if you have 45 and a half plus 70, that's 115 and a half hours.
Okay.
So 168 minus 115.5 hours. You still have 52.5 hours left.
So then
So
what else would you do? Would you, so if in my head where I'm going is, well, that's not really free because I work out every morning, I have to take a shower,
so
get
how many times do you
ready.
work out? How many times do you? So what he
Really?
did was he really opened our eyes. Like if you work out every day for 30 minutes and you do this and you that, you have plenty of time. How much time do you really sit there at night and watch? How much time do you waste doing nothing or piddling around? Or we all do it. We all things that are like I do. I forgot. I call it a I kind of look confused is what my daughter says. Like where I'm just like here and I space out.
Like zoning out.
And I'm like, what was I doing? And I'm like, I don't even know. Like, what's how like I feel like a cat. Like, you know, cats or dogs will be and I'm like, maybe I'm just having a daydream or something. I don't know.
You're probably processing all the
Yes,
millions
yes.
of things going on in your
So I
brain.
guess the whole point is that you're also a very high performing person that fits a lot in their schedule. This is really also for people that have the illusion that they don't have time because they look that time really that's like a whole more than a whole full-time job left to do working out, eating, hanging out with your family and friends. That's like the biggest two blocks are sleep and work.
Yes.
But there is time for everything you want. But we have told ourselves and conditioned ourselves because that society, oh, everyone doesn't have that much time. Like, and just like there's not that much money, there's plenty of money.
Mm.
We both know that. There's
Yes.
plenty of land.
Right.
You look at how much land's not like there's plenty of trees. Like people have this, it's like when something becomes scarce, it becomes like let's hold on to it tighter. And when you just like a relationship, right? If you hold on, if you're chasing something and chasing and chasing and chasing, that thing keeps running further away from you. Is so elusive.
So
But if
true.
you're just like chill out, dude, just chill out and just be, it
Right.
just kind of just comes like the flower just sits there and the bees just land on it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what I think that was the lesson I took is that time is abundant. I kept saying time is abundant for everything that I want to do. So I think you have to first go into the mindset with, when you plan
Mhm.
with that thought. Just
Okay.
like there's plenty of money, there's plenty of opportunity, there's plenty of houses, there's plenty of business for everybody.
Mhm.
It's the same as everything else. Like how agents that are out there so unwilling to share because they think that there's not enough deals for everybody.
Right. Yeah.
So is a lie.
Right. We know that's not true. All right. So if you are one of these people who feels like there's not enough time, there's not enough time, there's not enough time, and at the same time you have kind of this nagging feeling that you're probably not really using your time as effectively as you could be,
Mhm.
and that you, if you focused in a different way, you probably could find all the time you need to do the things that are important to you.
Yeah.
What do you do? How does this rapid planning method?
It really works about putting everything we talked about in a previous podcast about the categories. So you
Hmm.
first figure out what categories are important to you in life, right? And then you put the role. So we spent time doing all this stuff. And so for me, there's a category about I would just say my relationship with my husband. So radiant love with Michael is what I've labeled it because like that evokes emotion to me, not just Michael or relationship. See how like they're very two different words.
Yes.
So the words are very different as well. And so like inspirational leader,
Mm.
is another one versus just running my team.
Mm.
So like that, those are important buckets for me. So you can call them buckets or categories or blocks, however you want to call them, but we all have categories in our life. So most people have work, self, family, spirituality, financial, whatever have you, hobby, whatever that is, right? So let's just say you have six categories.
Okay.
So everything you need to do should fit in one of those categories.
Okay.
So if you can dump your brain dump, all the things that are driving you crazy, all the little things that you need to do, then move them to the categories,
Mhm.
then it all falls under 6 things versus 100 million things in your head floating around all day long.
Okay. So if I am an agent, for example, and this is what I see often, even with myself sometimes, who is spending an inordinate amount of time either dealing with emails, clearing their inbox, responding to emails, doing busy work that feels like you're getting something done, but really you're not accomplishing anything, or doing something like scrolling on social media. Um, how do the categories help us deal with that kind of
Because
possible
none of those,
time
well, I
waste?
guess I think you're asking two different questions. The first
Okay,
question you're asking is busy work. Busy
right.
work is admin work is busy work. That's something you can use leverage. That's one of the pieces too, is
Okay.
leveraging. So you don't delegate. He doesn't like the word delegate. You're not giving it away. You're leveraging. So think about when you pull a lever, you can lift a lot more weight. You're still pulling the lever. So you are
Okay.
still involved,
Yeah.
but you're leveraging. So
Okay.
I also have an assistant. Well, she's traveling now, but she clears my whole, but she's interesting. I've been getting emails every morning from her through my Slack because she scheduled them all to remind me what I needed to do that
Ah,
day.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
I was like, well, she's in Asia now. How is she doing this? And I just realized she scheduled them.
She's
I was like,
leveraging. She's leveraging
how
Slack.
did she wait? And she leveraged the scheduling. Do you see what I'm saying? So she prepared ahead of time to leverage to know to support me because she knows how
Yeah.
cool. So I think that my answer for you specifically would be, how can you teach your assistant to do a first come through of your emails to get rid of all the spam, all the junk mails, and then sort it for you. And all you do is go look at the sorted email, and then you do it at the top of the hour, maybe for
Yep.
2 minutes.
Okay. Now, but I think my question with thank you for that. That did answer that. The question about the like categories piece is if that didn't fit, like let's say that mine, like yours, was inspirational leader, and that is how I'm identifying my business category. Does an inspirational leader clear their email? Probably
No.
not. So is
They
that how I would know that I
So
need to leverage
you
it?
would put it under the category clear my email because it's a necessary task,
Okay.
but then you can assign that to someone else under that
So it
category.
would go under your inspirational leader still?
Yeah, because it's still like all the things that, oh, thumbs up, I like it. How
Oh,
come mine doesn't do that? But it would be like that. It would be like, develop the workshop, marketing stuff, whatever have you. Like you may not be
okay.
doing it, but these are all things that are going to lead to you being a leader because you need to check
Okay.
your email to be a leader. Like just part of it. You got to
Okay.
respond to things. And so maybe that it's just dumping it all in there. And then you're going to put a time associated about how long it's going to take you to do that. And
Mm,
then you'll also put an arrow. It says, I'm going to designate someone else to do that. So for me, one of the things was I want to be like a travel hacker. I want to do all these, that one, like I want to travel the world and be a world traveler. That's versus just go on trips. See how
right.
different that category is? So instead of just world traveler, travel hacker was my role. It's what I visualized my being. So one of the things was I'm getting ready to go out of town to take my daughter to that shopping trip, and we need to rent a car. I don't do those things. And so I put leverage my goal for that. And how long is that going to take me to do? It takes him, I don't know how long, but it takes me zero because I just told him to do it.
Right.
But that's still under that category. It still
I
needs
get
to
it.
be
Yeah.
done. But
Yeah.
he needs to do that and report back to me when it's done.
All right. So the
That makes
way that
sense?
this works is so the categories piece, these are actual like tasks that you're
No,
having to
not necessarily.
do.
They're just subtitles. So it would be like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Categories sit up at the top.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like one is like health and spirituality or something like that is one of another one. I forget my role name. It's like in my little RPM software. But under that is like I meditate every morning. So it's under there. And then it'll be in my calendar. So, and then what I do at the end of the week is I look back on the week and see like where did I spend time in my categories? Did I not spend enough time in one of my categories
So your a review process is part of this
at the end
system.
of the week? So I do that every Sunday anyways, but now with the new program, it's going to allow me to kind of go back in the system and see really what was done to move the needle forward. What's important to me because it starts out with what's your purpose and why is that? Why is it a must? See,
Mm.
the must will pull you to do the things you don't want to do, like check the damn email.
So this really helps you focus in a really impactful way toward accomplishing what your greater goals are, and it kind of like chunks it down.
The word chunking is
So
what he loves to use. So
all
like you
right.
have all the, like let's say if I say to you, Meredith, read out everything you have to do this week. the way our brains work are linear. It's like a conveyor belt, right? Thoughts just come. Like you're gonna be like, go buy new sneakers, gotta go to a listing appointment, gotta go do this with Chris, with Marissa. None of it makes sense. It's not in categories. It's just coming off the top of your head. I gotta do this. I gotta blah, blah, blah.
Right. Or I visualize my calendar. Like that's what
Yeah.
I'm doing. If you ask me that, I'm
But
seeing
it's
my,
all different categories
oh
everywhere.
yeah,
It's
right.
kind
Yeah.
of chaotic. And so just the way that looks in our brain creates stress and
Mm.
chaos in our brains where we can't process it in the categories it needs to be. So the first thing is to capture, right?
Okay.
So you capture everything you need to do, just dump it all out there, just make your list.
Okay.
Then you go on that list and you go, where does that like put them in the categories?
Okay.
Then you put them in the categories and then you group things that make sense. So maybe one is like call people back, write emails, book these things, whatever. That might be admin time, but maybe there's 4 items on your list that you can take care of in 20 minutes. But in your head, if you're thinking on different places, it makes you like, oh my God, I got to do, it makes you feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
Does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense? And so you can group
Yeah.
it.
And
And
then are you
the
supposed to do
grouping,
all these things at the same time or around the same time? You don't. Okay.
so some things like if you're working on a project, there's something called an RPM block for projects. So if you know, you have to look at the project, and some projects may have a bunch of things under the one project, and some projects may take a year or 2 years or 3 years even. But then you would take that and you would chunk that down onto months. What's important to get done that month? What is the outcome? What is a must to get to that next point? And you know that from doing the plays that you do and doing
Right. Oh, true.
getting the listings ready and getting clients ready and moved along. It's the same thing as that, right? Or having a party or doing something like get the invitations out by this point. But it's a project. You don't need to touch it every day,
Right.
right? But like these deadlines are coming up. So okay, I need to budget an hour over here to handle this block of these things. You're
Mm.
going to block the 3 hours, not 20 minutes, because it's going to take 3 hours instead of like going in and out, in and out. Because multitasking, they say, kills 40% of your time.
Wow. I
So
believe.
part of our issues in this world is trying to do everything at one time instead of being 100% present and engaged where you're at. Then you get the
Yes.
item done, immersion, get it done and move on.
Right. Oh,
Because the
good.
switch tasking is what kills everybody. And that's where mistakes come from. And then when there's a mistake, what happens? Someone has to go back and correct it. You have to have a whole conversation around it. Then you got to redo it. So that ends up, you see how that can create a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's apply this to the real estate agents that we know struggle with time management. And let's say, like, what are the, so we've got, and we want to use all the categories, right? You want to use your personal, your spiritual, your health and fitness, business, all those things. We use all the categories. Let's say that we have someone that has come to us and they're saying, Alicia, my major struggle is I just can't seem to get control of my time. I know I'm supposed to be making, 2 hours of active lead generation every single day. I know we talked about that. I know I committed to it, but here's what happens for me. I get a call from my buyer. He just saw something pop up. He wants to go see it today. I got to go do that. Like that's income generating. I got that prior that trumps lead rev. And so, or lead gen rather. So how do I, and then I don't know where to put it back. How do I get it back on track? So do you hear that from clients? I hear that kind of thing a lot and from people on my team who are feeling
Yeah.
pulled and not in control of their schedules.
I think that's a valid point that they feel. I don't say that they don't feel that and that I can see and understand, but I would like to challenge that. Um, why does that trump your lead gen? Because the work the showing that you're going on today and the listing appointment that you're going on today and all the things that you want to do today, those are important things. I'm not saying they're not important and they seem urgent and important, but what you're forgetting is the important but not urgent. And the
Mm.
important, not urgent quadrant, if you look at the quadrant, is the most important because that's the stuff that's easy to pass off, but that's where the work lies for your future self. So
Interesting.
that's like your job, like your life purpose,
Okay.
right? So if you know you want to have 10 listings next month, but you're focused on the now business and I got my deal, I got my deal, I got my deal, I got my deal. And you're like, I can't do that lead gen. I got my deal. I got my deal. But you can because everybody has an hour. Just like when they tell me I can't work out because I don't have an hour, I'm like, you have an hour. You make priority for the things that are important to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know you're susceptible to answering the phone and not being able to ignore someone, you need to put your phone on do not disturb or turn it off, make phone calls on a desk.
Yeah.
and make that time very sacred. Because I always ask people, what if you were already on an appointment and that buyer called you?
Mm, yeah,
Are you going to
right.
tell the appointment that you're at now? So sorry, I have to leave to go to another appointment.
So you're keeping that as a sacred appointment for yourself. So is that what you're saying, is that how someone should make a decision? So the buyer, I mean, let's say the phone's still in front of them, they should be just ignoring the call, but let's say it is there. They see the text pop up that's like, hey, dude, I gotta
Mhm.
see 123 Main Street just came on. I gotta go see it this afternoon. Are you free at 5? And your lead gen time was 4 to 6.
Mhm.
So you're in your head, you're going, that's
That
still
time is not
urgent.
available because we both know they don't have to see it today at 5.
Okay.
We both know that. We both know that. I know that 100% of 100%, they don't need to see it at 5. Because what if you already had an appointment at 5? You would not be able to take them. Now, if
Right.
it's that important to see it at 5, that's when you pull in your leverage. You
Hmm.
ask a colleague, would you mind taking my client, open that door? I'll pay $50 because
There we
I
go.
already have an appointment from 4 to 6 today.
There we go.
Or if you have oh shit blocks is what I call them in my schedule, where you have buffers for that very reason. And you say, okay, then I'm going to lead gen from 2 to 4 instead, or 2:30 to 4:30, and I'm going to go book that appointment for 5, then that's fine. But you have to make that decision for yourself. But the
Yeah.
difference is that's the non-negotiable. The non-negotiable is the important work that's going to help you become who you want to become,
Okay.
whatever that may be.
All right. So let's take it to the place of, let's say that it's somebody who doesn't have access to this other awesome software, any of the written
Yeah.
materials, all of that. They're an agent who maybe they are that agent. They want to be the 10 listing agent. Let's say they want 10 listings by the end of 2024. We're in August right now. And we know that that's their like purpose to get to by the end of the year. What steps would you give them to implement a process like this to make that happen for themselves?
So I would chunk it down first. So if 10 listings by the end of the year, is that closed or is that just 10 listings? I would
10
ask.
listings taken. Let's say taken.
Okay. So 10 listings taken, I would say that's divided by 5 months left is 2 a month. So that's actually very doable, right? So 2 a month. So where are you at right now? What's your pipeline look like? What does your sphere of influence look like? What does your past client look like? You need to make the list of people where your applicable people are, and then do a listing campaign on like, hey, this is who I want to, this is what I need to do to get to that point. And then just kind of mark things down and say, I know that if I call so many people or I connect or find that, my average is this, right? Every time I do this or I do an event, I always get 2 listings out of it. Or I know if I get that one listing, I'm going to door knock or do what I need to do. I'm going to get another listing from that. So I think it's just brain dumping all the strategies that you know you need to do to get those things done. And then if it takes like 4 hours to do that piece, like where in your schedule is that going to go? Like
Okay.
that's
If
priority. Does that make sense?
it does, yeah. Now, if the person hasn't done any of the prep work and not done any of like the brain dumping of all the other things, should they brain dump all the things they have to get done, including buying the new sneakers and working out and picking up the kid and all the stuff? They should
They
they
can,
should
or
Okay.
they can do it per project. So like sometimes like I do an RPM the blocks for like I have one for this YouTube channel I'm gonna do. It has nothing to do with my personal life. It's just
Yep.
what I need to get done for the YouTube channel.
Yep.
So you can, that's a category. Do you see what I'm saying? So you can, it's really up to you. How does your brain work? If you know you need to kind of, it's like having a party. What's the list that we need to get for the party?
Hmm.
What do we need to do for the party? What do we need to do for this event, this client event? What do we need to do? Whatever that may be, right? When you're going to go on a trip, you're not really worried about what sneakers you need for next week. You're worried about what do I need to take on the trip?
Hmm. Okay, so you could treat this get me 10 listings by the end of the year as a project.
It's its own project
Got
underneath a category of I
it.
want to build the listing machine, whatever.
Got it, got it, got it. Okay, and then breaking down, then we're seeing what our total addressable market is. We're breaking down the actual steps
Mhm.
to get in front of that total addressable market.
Yep. And one of
And
them could be expires. Who's going to
yep.
expire? Who's like for sale by owner, going through all that, like, going to the past people that have already bought and sold with you, right? Going back to looking at your tax records, doing the CMAs, maybe signing up for an espresso agent or something like that. Like it's a lot of getting in it and getting dirty, but you don't even know what your options are unless you put everything on the paper. And then you can say, what are the things I'm willing to do? What are the things I think I could really move the needle on sooner than later? maybe all the things that they do will be like 5 listings in November
Mhm.
versus 222. That's okay,
Yeah,
right? Because sometimes things take 3 months to really hit too,
right.
and that's okay. Because even if you were only, let's say worst case scenario, you get 7.
Hmm. Pretty good still. Yeah,
I think that's pretty damn good. So like you making that big goal is good. It's pushing you. You have a goal in mind, but I don't think you shouldn't celebrate that you got 7.
right.
But the
Yeah,
goal is to go for 10.
yeah,
Because you may go, I have like 3 more that's coming in January. Is that a loss?
right. Right. Now, what happens if, like, let's say that you take the expireds that you just mentioned, and we know there are several steps to implementing an expired system. Do you break down that goal of working expires into steps, and then you allocate time for each of those things and figure out what things you could
Yeah.
leverage?
I
Okay.
think you first have to brain dump. Okay, listen, since we're doing this as an exercise, let's say I want to get 10 listings. Let's say on one project, let's capture everything I could do to get a listing. Every single thing I can do.
Okay.
Okay. And then how many listings do I think I could get from that each lead tool? What's
Okay.
really feasible and how long do I think it could take?
Okay.
So you got to be really looking at what is the work it's going to take for me to get from this to this, right?
Okay.
And will I do it? What's the feasibility of me doing it? So
Right.
then you can take that crazy list and shrink it down to maybe your top 10.
Okay.
Right? And then you go from your top 10 to be like, okay, of the top 10, which ones are kind of grouped together? Like past clients and sphere of influence and social, some of them are kind of the same thing.
Mhm.
You
Yes,
can
right.
chunk that down into one category and you could have one prong to hit them, right?
Okay.
Then you could have another prong. And then if you're like, I really want to do the expired and for sale by owners, then you can go, okay, I'm going to circle that as one. And then you can say, what is the plan for then this? What is the plan for? Do you see? Then you have it's like it kind of goes down and it's like, all right, now I'm going to work on this big thing.
Yes.
And you can say, once a week, I'm going to work on this big thing. And this is a tactic I'm going to do every single day to hit this one big thing.
And I can see how when you have that in your sights, like that's your project, that you won't let something else interrupt that. When that guy calls you to see the 123 Main Street that just popped on the market, you're gonna be like, sorry, I'm working, I got a project I'm working on right now, or you don't even pay attention to it because you are
Or you
head
can respond
down
and say, I
focused.
got you, man. And then you can go back. Unfortunately, that time is taken.
Fortunately for you.
That you don't need to tell them it's my time is taken. You can just say
Right.
that's not available. It's not
Yes.
available for me to show you. I do that all the time. Like, why
Well,
is it that we have to be available 100%? That doesn't even make sense. They're so quick to tell you when they can go. Why
yeah.
is it that you feel like you have to reciprocate that? That doesn't even make any sense whatsoever.
Right. Well, there are lots of reasons that could be, but I think the truth of the matter sometimes is that we self-sabotage by allowing ourselves to be pulled from the very activity that will get us closest to our goal the fastest, because sometimes it feels the hardest.
Well, I think you have to remember if you're avoiding, this is something I wrote down too. If you're avoiding the actual thing that you're not doing it, then your purpose is not strong enough.
Ooh.
You got to go back to what is that purpose again? You got to ask yourself, what is going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Work.
that's the truth. Like, why are you not? It should be a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we gave everybody a pretty comprehensive, I think, look at how to approach a project, whether it is something like throwing a party or something like getting 10
Taking
lists,
listings.
yep, listings, that's where we are. Yeah, and I think doing it in this organized kind of a way, and it's kind of, what I liked about this, it's not just organized, there's a creative aspect to it too. And there's an innovative and thoughtful aspect to it. It isn't just like writing something down on a calendar. It's much more intuitive than that, which I think we all like. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap up this episode about planning?
I think you just have to remember whatever you focus on is going to come out.
Mhm.
So focus on what it is that you really want in life, be intentional, and then make time in your schedule for that because ultimately that will pull you to what you want to be at.
Hmm.
Don't let all the little pebbles, I call them the paper cuts in life,
Yes.
take your thunder away from what your purpose in life is supposed to
Yeah.
be. Because that's not what life's about.
Right.
So use that calendar, use RPM, use whatever those things as tools to get you to where your heart really wants you to go. And don't use it as a trap. You know what I mean? That's how
Mhm.
I see it.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you, Alicia. This was great. I'm going to use it. I appreciate you sharing all of this with us. Thank you all for listening. Please follow us on social media if you haven't already. Feel free to send us your show ideas. We'd love it if you would send us a quick or give us a quick review on or a rating on the platform on which you are listening. Subscribe to the show and tune back in soon for the next So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. We'll see you next time. We are so grateful you have joined us today. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe to our show or share it with people that you think would benefit. And please remember to leave us a review or rating on the platform on which you are listening.
And if you've got questions about Tom Ferry coaching, have the both of us here, please contact us directly. We would love to answer your questions. Or if you're just curious, we'd love to have a conversation. You can reach us at any of our social media outlets or shoot us a direct message.